Hello, it is I, Coil, back to you another time again for another voiceless chat. You'll never believe the shit my mother just told me. Hello, hi, hello, hi, hello. Welcome back again. It is I, your host, the Negroid with the mostess, who will choke out a hostess. Literally, as I was sitting down the first time, my mother calls me into her room to explain to me that she had a dream about a toxic crab that was climbing onto everybody and infecting them with a deadly virus. I had no idea why she would tell me this. She would then proceed to tell me to go get the mail. I was confused. At first, I was annoyed because I thought, every time. But then, as I was standing there, listening, I was deeply concerned. I think this is one of those moments where I, as a son, just have to say, absolutely. That's so wonderful, Ma. That's so wonderful. And imagine okay, just for a second there, I was thinking, oh wait, my video capture device is not on, so my mic's not on. But anyways, I just need to think there for a moment. Say, this is one of those moments where I, as a son, just needs to ask no questions and say nothing other than, That is so true. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a sidebar today, because what I was realizing was that not yesterday, the day before yesterday. Yesterday I needed to handle business, and I also had to do that earlier today. That for this, I need to. Everybody can gather in the green room if they wish, but for this particular video, because we're having too many sidebars, I'm not able to blast through the points that I need to make, because anytime I need to whip out the fucking notepad, it's one that's going to require me to analyze. We're taking too long. That's long and short. We're taking too long. Anywho, last time, as I finish the text bar of the last video, last time, we were dissecting Not So Erudite video, where I stopped at 16:23 for this 1 hour video, because we had multiple things that we need to discuss about the logic of these individuals. They haven't even agreed on what it is that they need to discuss, but they are so adamant at yelling at everybody, and that they're stuck on saving the facts. that it prevents them from being able to move forward in the conversation. Of course, the nasheeds are fucking copyright. But we return to dissect and discuss. Sure, everything's right. Also, I remember what everybody was telling me about, there was disconnections that were happening. That is my mother using the internet connection on her cell phone in the other room. And or whatever the fuck is happening with our fiber optic cable lines. I have no control over that. Without further ado, let us begin.
I think
I'll have to admit that the younger population is losing the culture war to what you're talking about.
I'm not calling them grifters. Like that's their main purpose. They are doing what they think. Maybe they are doing what they think is right, but they're drawing in these young men because they're giving them a place. Like, and it might be an ad. If it is an ad, then they are grifters. And
yeah, I think they are grifters. The problem is that the red pill is not a grift. The red pill is a real valid ideology.
So when you say the right is winning, I think it's easier for the right to win because they have a status quo position. So basically, from the left, you're working from steps backwards. You have to come up with a progressive new identity for masculinity in a couple years, and that's really, really difficult. Basically, what the right does is they preach old values, not the right, the red pill. I want to be specific. They preach old values of sexism and misogyny. Those values are already appealing to young boys because young boys are already taught those values. That's basically it with the right winning. I mean, they teach status quo values of capitalism.
Cabbity cap. He's for word describing the Unga Bunga conversation of misogynoir. The logic of this argument physically hurts me.
Patriarchy.
So, the left starts on a back foot because we have to rebrand the image of men in culture because the right has a head start teaching boys deep eldritch misogyny. It's so dumb. And it's so dumb in so many fractional ways. You can't pin one down and say, this is the dumbest. No, this is the dumbest. I forgot the TM. If you think in the framework that actually every single fucking thing that your side is doing somehow is based on the stupidest thing you could say, which in this case is, bro, we are so behind. The right has the ability to teach them eldritch patriarchy. We have to come up with an image structure that allows us to teach them a new way of being. Bitch, this ain't Avatar. You ain't coming up with a new technique of firebending. Fuck is wrong with you? The fuck is actually wrong with you? My Discord is rebooting.
Sexism that are already widespread throughout society.
If it's so much easier for the right, because traditionalism is what the right is, right? If teaching old values and maintaining the status quo is so much easier, why does all of society for all of history trend left?
I can
Erudite has finally entered the chat room at 1727.
answer that, to be honest. So what
All of traditionalism is what the right is, right? If teaching old values and maintaining the status quo is so much easier, why does all of society for all of history trend left?
Because people, when they're youth, are going to be more progressive, and in their age will become more conservative. They are taught at a young age, much like Meghan Markle, before her acting career, that they should be little activists concerned with saving the world, and then in their old age, they become concerned with, what am I going to do for a nest egg? What am I going to do for eggs?
I can answer that, to be honest. So what going back though, like the red pill ideology is a full-formed ideology, and they tend to be totalizing. With enough time and enough thinkers, they have usually an answer or a solution to everything eventually. So, you know, they have something about what you should do as an individual. They have things you should do as forming a community and collective. And basically what has happened is that the right, whether it be like you know, moderate conservatives like 2019 Jordan Peterson before his you know,
Let's go, dude. It's over with.
or even now current days with Andrew and Tristan Tate, is that the right has constructed a narrative on what it should be for young men who are trying to find their place in the world, what they should do to find success, happiness, companionship, prosperity, you know, both in their physical appearance by going to the gym and working out, and in their bank accounts by getting money, doing crypto schemes, and all sorts of dumb bullshit. So what I was saying before,
It's more about them finding a place in society through leading from a traditional position of masculinity, and what we consider the traditional position of masculinity is a man who has money, who can provide and protect his own. How he gets that money is not as important as having the money, which is a deep concern. As much like anything in society, the way that you do something matters. The way that you do politics, what matters. The way that you do business matters. The way that you do community and connection matters. If it doesn't matter to you where your ability to do things and get power comes from, this is how you end up with fucking orbiters and grifters, and more importantly, tourists, who will monetize and mine you for every single profit that you can provide. It is why all of the, quote, conservatives have lost the culture war, because they can't conserve anything. They give up. They say to themselves, we will retreat inwards and hold them off at the gate, without realizing that the gate has already been destroyed. And they're retreating into and defending nothing. That's why the adage that is always said by a dumbass political poison irony brain is the best way for me to convince you to change your politics is to adopt them so that you abandon them.
or even when I first started the call, is that as people on the left, those people need to have
Hello.
in their ideology, what is it that is admirable for young men who want to be left-leaning, who want to do good in the world, by the measurements of what left people would consider good in the world? What are the qualities they have? What does it look like to be a left-leaning man and actually standing up for the community, standing up for individual rights?
We answered that question. You guys are doing this for a 5th time.
People that they are and the people they will be taking care of in their households, you know, things of that nature. Like,
Look at Erudite. She's raising her hand. I did that before. I still do that.
what moral values should they strive for? What
Yeah, I
social
think
values
that-
will they uplift?
I
what
think
what
that
types
one.
of things do they do and say?
I
That's what
think
we need
one.
to construct this
Yeah.
narrative for the left.
I think that one mistake that we made in the past is that basically whatever goes, you know, we had like a little bit too much of a hippie perspective on what masculine men were, you know. It was like, yeah, just do your own thing and that kind of stuff, and that's where the left got caught in, and I think that needs to change, so we can still basically form like a more realistic point of view of what a masculine man is, or what.
What you mean to say is you had no demands and you had no prescriptions. Therefore, you could just be what you want. Which is what led to you not having the position of having anything to do or say against other people, dictating how they could live. That's how you get grifters. That can be some of the worst tenants that suggest that they should get to keep more money just because they're a popular breadtuber who has changed to a transgender ideology. And that in this progression of what is supposed to be their truth, they reveal that actually, I'm much like ContraPoints. I decided that I wanted to do the aesthetic. It doesn't matter. And they out themselves on Twitter.
Masculinity is overall, and from there on out, we should like pretty much look at what the left version of like of masculinity is.
So I think that there's a really big issue on the left in that they really, really, really don't understand the red pill, and they really, really don't understand what it's doing to young men about it. And to be honest, I'm not hearing many people give like super good answers. One of the answers has to be, you're right, we are going to always be wrestling with the answer of what masculinity is, but I think like that's universal. That's always going to be a question in every society. The issue is the way that we're wrestling with it now is soy. It's cringe. It's cringe because we're like, isn't even just a construct. And it's like, of course, universally, there are always going to be things that emerge that are more masculine and more feminine. This is why we have universal masculine and feminine traits that you can establish. The issue is, on top of that, is a bunch of arbitrary bullshit. That's the gender stuff that we're talking about, right? Another thing that's important to understand is the reason the red pill.
Notice how Baldy is now nodding his head along with the woman. This was exactly what Italian Superman was telling you. Nah, not good enough. Deep, masculine, bodybuilder Mario was telling you.
Winning isn't because it's like I think Kara said it's like a throwback to like old tradcon values that like they were already raised in. That ain't it, right? Most tradcon conservatives don't like Andrew Tate. Like real Christian men do not like Andrew Tate because he's a pig. He wants to have sex with as many women as possible, to not be tied down to any of them. He absolutely glorifies hedonism and like just like drugs, sex, and rock and roll and like mafia basically. Like he's appealing. Yeah, he's appealing to men in a way that like we haven't really had an appeal to it in a really long time, right? He's really appealing to like grind and hustle culture and like maximal levels of hedonism. And yeah, he's like LARPing as like an Islamic guy right now, but anyone who's like at all in touch with like
a lot of people won't see that.
yeah, but the issue is like most Islamic people would be like, no, fuck that guy. Like, no, this isn't real.
Yeah,
like,
but they have
he's
to
wrong.
research him. That's the problem.
And so the issue is like I feel like we're trying to cope by being like, well, the reason that the red pill's winning out with young men is just because it's appealing to what like young boys have been socialized. That ain't it. They're the only group that's willing to look at young men and be like, you have obstacles that nobody else even cares about. They're willing to look at young men and be like, yes, your problems are legitimate. And yeah, I'll admit they're disgustingly self-masturbatory in their victimhood. Absolutely. The issue is every other group on the left basically just wants to ignore these issues. They by and large just think that like men are a group that are pretty easy to put under, easy scapegoats, and it's like really uncomfortable to even acknowledge obstacles. Like this is why like every famous
Based. This was the entire point on why Municat was brought up to me.
video essays, when they start talking about like legitimate men's issues, they have to add like 17 caveats for their like NB, transgender, femme people as they talk. And it's like, it's not about you. They're just talking about men's issues. Shut the fuck up. Like women don't need to bitch when they're talking about only men's issues, just like in the past. Men don't need to bitch when we're talking about just women-related issues, right? And so it's like there hasn't been a man space. This is the only one that actually mimics some level of masculinity that young boys look at and can map onto. The issue is it's toxic, gross, and hedonistic, and it's super harmful. Like the way that these men treat women is, as somebody who grew up in tradcon Christian land, like maximal, it's way worse than I was ever exposed to growing up. It is disgusting how they talk about women, right? Like I have quotes from them, like, the only time you're ever going to take time to spend time talking to a woman is if you're f***ing her. Men who respect women are simps, right? Like the way that they talk about women and men is way worse than I think I've heard in my lifetime, ever.
How come this
Well,
dumb
you
gets to
just
come on and
listen to
talk for
people.
10 minutes straight and you guys all interrupt me?
Hey, first of all, hold on.
Based.
True.
Hey, Erudite,
We're trying to-
I have a question, Erudite. I have a question.
Not
So
so
what-
erudite.
so I
the
agree
reason,
with you.
The reason why not so erudite can talk is because she even got you late, Nick. She even got you late.
That's true.
And her voice is nice.
That's
very
true, bro.
We let the woman talk because woman booba. They're cracking jokes. They at least understand what humor is. For now.
Erudite, what should the left do? What would you, if you were a person that was an advocate of left, which I'm pretty sure you are, what would you say to the leftist creators, like an influencer on the left? What would you say to actually help them proceed to be able to win the masculine vote back to help these kids out?
Stop shitting on men and let them have the ability to enjoy things.
Speak from your chest. Stop lying all the time. Just be honest. Just own the reality and stop quibbling about it. Science isn't scary, by the way, right? Stop being pathetic, first and foremost. Unironically, stop being pathetic.
Not you specific.
Based. Now we're getting somewhere.
Rampage, just so you know.
Yeah, not you specific.
No, hey, I have a great life. I'm 31. I got a girlfriend. I have a great life, guys.
Listen, guys, I'm not the problem. I have a woman. I'm checked the fuck out. I got mine.
I have faces in mind. Stop being pathetic. Stop adding 16 caveats to any time you just need to talk about men's issues. It's cringe. Imagine if we talked about like issues that black people face, real issues, and we're like, I'm so sorry to all you white folks out here. You probably just don't want to hear this. And yes, white people have problems too. And also to the Jewish population, like yeah, there was a lot of like intergenerational trauma from like the Holocaust, and also to like Asian first immigrants. I know it's really hard to straddling cultures, but I just want to spend this video talking about black-related issues. Imagine everybody be like, what the? No, you don't.
You're honestly red pilling me right now.
Yeah.
But seriously though,
swallow it. It's better.
Let me add one extra thing really quick. It's also,
She also is like me. She also puts on chapstick in the middle of speaking.
stop making up new words and try to use the pre-existing ones that everybody has in their mind. Like when you talk to conservatives about shit, stop trying to throw in all this technical language. Use what they understand. And I'm going to say this straight. The left is just smarter than the right. The right is just more dumb. They just are. So stop trying to make them learn.
Cap. But I can see where he's coming from. Academically, they might be more intelligent, but streetwise and adage-wise, anyone who's not on the left is usually going to come from a position of either radical centrism, shitposting, or a form of a sect of right-leaning opinions that they're not going to agree with, and then they will look at them and look down on them for this projected sense of superiority.
Learn new to even come to the table and cater them to them a little bit. They need it.
I love
There's some
left language where
keywords
it's
you
inclusive.
can't-
Like it's not streamlined to like what you learned
I don't
before.
see
Like
There's
Oh,
some
okay.
keywords where you can't like use them. Like for example, like if you're talking to someone who's conservative, like I wouldn't bring up like the patriarchy. I'm talking about the patriarchy with you all because we all know what the patriarchy is.
Yeah.
There's a Jubilee video about
We know what patriarchy is amongst this group. We are all indoctrinated in the cult.
like men's rights activists versus like women's rights activists. Someone bring up the P word, the patriarchy. People shut off. People don't want to listen to that. In
Yeah,
response to like trad values, I don't think that what red pill is doing is appealing to traditional values. What I think they're more so doing is appealing to like maximalist, like masculine aesthetics, like hyper capitalist, hyper rich aesthetics. Think like American Psycho. Don't think like
Exceptionalism.
American Psycho is a meme. We talk about using Bateman and anybody else like him as a potential talking point of men's personality traits because men are memeing on you. I don't think there are many people who are seriously taking in the idea and the aesthetics of American Psycho the same way that in a few months they will be taking in the personal psychology and the appearance of Barbie and acting like Ken as portrayed by our boy. I don't think that's a thing. If somebody told you that that's a thing, I think they trolled you.
Like don't
really crazy.
think like American Psycho main character. Don't think like a Christian value. That's what I mean when I say that.
When I was like a politician, they used to send me out to like poor neighborhoods that are right wing because of the fact that I was just talking in normal language and just talking with them on a level, like basically saying like, well, these are the benefits if you vote for us, right? Instead of like well, the patriarchy and blah blah blah. No, I was just talking about like, well, yeah, and
what's that? Admitting that you code switch so that you can try to win people over to your political base? Damn! Now, I wonder why you guys don't do that when you're trying to sell people on your content and ideas. Is it possible that it's because you have put more focus on trying to ensure and control that people see and hear and understand and discuss things in your mind as the correct way around, rather than, in the truth, I keep fucking with my microphone, rather than, in truth, understanding that the reason why this shit happens is because you're actively code switching, and then when they come to the waiting room analogy, when they come to the waiting room, all of a sudden, it's patriarchy, misogynoir? No! Not possible.
a lot of the stuff, if you want to sell something, right, you don't want to necessarily advocate for your own people, right? You want to reach out to new people. And when I see the online left, they are mostly preaching for their own, right? And
true.
And that's a big issue. And it's the same with masculinity. Is that I see that happening a lot of times. And it's like we were talking about like all these different issues with like toxic masculinity, and I can agree on a lot of fronts there, but we just gotta like ditch that and say like, well, men can be good as well, you know. So and I think that like we need to find the positives and not mention the negative, because that's not how you sell something.
There's a lot of extreme left values that are like anti-men, that do alienate young men, but there's also a lot of neutral spaces that they're not left related, they're not right related. Like I don't have any backing for this, but I would say if a man gets on a sports team, he's probably less.
If you have no statistics to support, we can't have the conversation, motherfucker. That's what y'all did.
Likely to get red pilled. Like he might still go right in his ideology, he might still go left in his ideology. That's irrelevant. The reason the left is losing to the red pill is because they're giving a space, and it happens to line up with the right values. It happens to line up with political values. That shouldn't matter. Like it shouldn't be relevant. Like I can be a masculine left man. I consider myself a very masculine left man.
So do I.
But one of the questions that is like when it comes to like masculinity overall, because look at Nick. Nick is a buff man, right? He is like
I can beat him in a wrestle. I can beat him in a wrestle for sure.
Sure, whatever. He is buffed out the wazoo, right? One of the things that the left sometimes advocate for is like body positivity when it comes to man or woman, and it's like all sides are like good. But let's get real. Let's get real. Look at Nick. He looks beautiful. He's a masculine man. Oh, I wanna squeeze those muscles.
But have you seen
those aren't mutually exclusive? Those aren't mutually exclusive. You can appreciate body positivity, and you can say like, no, it's not masculine to be like pumped and out of shape. But you can say it's I do.
I'm going to make a take that's not completely wild at all. Masculinity is based on the value system of the person. Just like femininity is based on the value system of the person. So when you say, it's not mutually exclusive, God, you have such a fucking hard, thick French American accent. It's not exclusive on the person. It's not exclusive on the person. Those things are mutually exclusive. They are not necessarily mutually exclusive. No, they kind of can be, depending on the value system of the person. For me, I don't give a fuck. Most men don't give a fuck, especially considering that we also know that women prefer dad bods. So, like, I don't have to work out, I just have to have the ability to lift 50 pounds at any one point of time if I were asked to. No one's asking me to move a sofa by myself. That would be the deep Barbie programming talking. But you can hold these views and hold these values to be self-evident socially, while at the same time understanding the prescribed Ubermensch that you're eventually aspiring to be. But the Ubermensch in the part of the left's eyes, as we've discussed multiple times at this point, and we've listened be discussed at this time, is the value of a person who understands what it's like to be a non-chud. adding in and can lift 50 pounds without preparation is a hard sell. As I'm pretty sure the male on the top left could not do that. Easily, readily, without general ails. So you guys have to get away from these prescriptions of, well, it's like this, it could be like this, it could be like that. Either it is or it ain't. Either it is or it ain't. It ain't hard, motherfucker. It ain't hard.
You think so?
No,
look at Nick.
listen.
You want to squeeze those missiles, don't you?
No, I'm telling you, he looks very masculine. He looks great. I'm telling you, you can still have body positivity, and you can still just say like that's not a masculine man, but it's fine.
Not possible, and that's because of women and men shaming each other on Twitter. A man putting on muscles, just like him buying a gun, is a prompt for people to say, "What are you compensating for?" It's cap.
That's what it should be.
I think
That's
the
true,
new left is distinctly feminine, almost always, right? And
Yes, gynocentric even.
toxically feminine a lot of the time. The new left is pro-enablement, right? They want to have minimal boundaries. They want to enable people to do whatever the fuck they want with like no consequences or consequences. And they're
so?
very
Lazy.
masculine, right? But the crazy thing is, the old left, like what the left used to be risen on, was like
Stalinist.
fucking gigachads who were big on like individual freedom. And
Yeah, you're talking about
thought-
liberals. You're talking about liberals.
Yeah.
Well, even go back
Yeah.
farther, right? Go
I don't know
USSR.
if liberals is
It's the same thing.
here, Erudite. I think maybe on the online that we live on, but how much is the online? I mean, they couldn't even make Bernie Sanders win. So how popular are they?
See, now he's raising his hand. The woman has done her divine feminine job and asserted control on this space.
They really, right?
This is
go
also
back-
the same
let's go
thing
back
I'm
a
saying
little
to Chinchilla though. Like the same answer I'm giving to Chinchilla. Like they're part of being leftist, sure, it is being more inclusive of the people that you have to include, but it's not.
No. Being a liberal is being more tolerant and inclusive of the people you have to include in society and leaving them the fuck alone. Being more leftist as an individual doesn't mean including them. It means identifying and labeling them, sorting them into a file box, and whenever you want to refer to that file box, saying, "Can I please find a representative for the black, queer, transgender, plays Minecraft community? Can I please find the furry in the group?"
It's not saying that that's masculine. Like there are stupid people that are like, you can still be masculine and you can be like fat and like whatever it is.
There are
No, you have to.
Yeah, but we should
There are.
What did I just say about masculinity being defined by the person, not defined by the group?
I'm using
Individual rights, individual opinions, individual assessments, individual categories. If an individual decides that they don't need to be a bodybuilder, it does not matter. Period. Period.
very bad words, but anyway,
Sure.
like Nick is masculine. Like that's
Yeah,
a
a lot
masculine
of,
look. He's buff. He's brolic.
A lot of the
I can still say like
conversations-
whatever you look like is fine. You're just not masculine, and it's
a
still
lot of
okay.
conversations
Which
I have
is
with, like academics and stuff tend to run on harm reduction. So when I'm talking about the fitness industry, they're always trying to change my language because I was in a Mr. Girl server for a little bit and I was talking to random Mr. Girl users, and it was like it was talking about fat phobia and harm reduction and changing my language, and I'm like, well,
That's alienating.
When you wanna appeal to authority on someone who's like a personal trainer that knows what they're talking about, and wouldn't you just not worry about that level of like language and stuff? And this person couldn't grasp it. So when I see a lot of like academics, they just really need to go touch some grass,
Yeah.
and actually talk to actual people and not abstracts of people.
It's
I'm also
How wonderful for you to finally arrive at the Carl position.
I'm on a random
I don't know
ass
about that,
channel.
man. I don't know
I
if
don't
that's
have to be like really concise with my words. Like you're understanding what I'm saying without
I
being
completely
perfectly fine, yeah.
Yes, now learn how to do it without referring to textbooks and statistics like you literally were before Erudite showed up. And then do that across the entire spectrum. And much like Anna Kasparian the other day, realizing this shit happening in real time as she gets red-pilled on the concept of the right to repair debate, learn that the shit that you've been pushing for is exactly what you've been doing everywhere at all times. Then rebirth yourself as a new form of the left, like you're coming out of fucking Twin Peaks The Return, and then we have something we can talk about.
No, like the rights. I'm just curious. Mainly I guess for Erudite. I think that the right and the red pill wave of like masculinity. I'm not really sure if it comes from a deeper or a sense of care for men. I've always felt, and I think this is what I said at the beginning. I think it largely comes from sexism and really strong like capitalist viewpoints. I think the idea that you can tell a guy like for example, literally Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tabozzi is like get a Bugatti. Like I'm not sure if that comes from a deep care about men's emotions or the genuine.
Consumerism.
Consumerism is a feature of capitalism.
So let
Consumerism is a feature of capitalism. No, it's a feature of patriarchy. From you. Capitalism cannot also be a piece of patriarchy if it's supposed to be something that they're wooing them in with as a trick. Because if the problem is supposed to be capitalism, then you can never go into business for yourself. And how many fucking commies, how many fucking leftists, how many fucking cancerous leeches have gotten rich off of being one thing, then immediately shifted to being another thing? I'm not even asking that as a general question. Literally off the top of your head in nature. Imagine in your head, chat, at least 5 faces of at least YouTubers or streamers who advocate for socialist fucking policies but cannot stop making money deals based on what will be beneficial for them and their bank cash flow. That is the issue. That is the problem there. If buying a Bugatti is supposed to be a tenet of capitalism, which then becomes one of the pillars of patriarchy, you are failing to understand the reason why they're even saying that. These men need a goal. They're being told a goal that they can reach for. Much like any person loading into a video game for the first time that's based on social community and asking what can they do to get better or what could they do to spend their time wisely. And they're being given the goal of, get a Bugatti. Just like a person jumping into PlanetSide 2 for the first time, and they get into an outfit that is actually capable of leading people in a direction for what they should do for behavior and training, are able to say, what are we going to go do? Where are we going to go siege? And they get told, go drop in the biolab. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to teach you how. Here's a general overview. Here's what you need to know. Same thing, same concept, same excerpt, same agitation, same energy, same dialectic, same framework. The difference of the framework is that the commie, like that of Hassan Piker, telling me that keep working and hating your life, you working class handy, while being a midwit who understands nothing outside of the basic ABCs of internet debate, cannot be able to explain to me why actually I should be like him, but at the same time will promote himself if he ever does get a dub versus other fucking midwits that he can be able to outclass because they are only stuck on one form of rhetoric and he's only ever going to be seen and discussed and dissected from one fucking framework.
And then Nick, Nick went also. Okay, so right at Nick.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about this, I don't know if these things can be disentangled. And I don't think Andrew Tate cares about men. Andrew Tate cares about money. And he's realized that there's a lot of young, disenfranchised men who want to have their feelings heard, and he capitalized on it. The issue is that I think a lot of these original spaces, like, I'm sorry, Jordan Peterson just did care about young men. He really, really did, right? I don't think I can be convinced otherwise, genuinely. I would need a lot of evidence to convince me otherwise. I'm even willing to bet, after, like, meeting Fresh and Fit, like Myron Gaines in person, I think it started there. I actually genuinely think it did. And it also started with a lot of hatred towards women. And the issue is that these in-groups became toxic, they grew, they got more and more vilified by the left, and they did the most antisocial thing, which made them rise to the top, which is, he said, you think I'm a racist? Based. I am a racist. You think I'm a sexist? Based. I am a sexist. And all these young men who had been bludgeoned by these words for years were like, oh my god, he just beat it, right? And so then they flocked to it more. So, like, I would agree with Andrew Tate, I don't think he cares about young men. I think Myron Gaines started caring about young men. I think he does to a degree. The issue is he increasingly realizes that he even said to me, yeah, what I tell young men will only help, like, less than 1% of my viewers. Like, it's not actually a success story for most men. And so I think it's shifted with grift and money. I don't know. I feel like, is that an answer? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, that.
It's my turn. Shut up, magic crystal man. Shut the fuck up. Fred, get this man back in the house. Get this man back in the house.
It's been a while. It's not quite Bloodsport. It sounds like Bloodsport, but without the threat of somebody telling me that they're gonna bomb my house, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same.
Get this house!
Elliot Hulse. We have a good-looking loser who had the pickup artistry stuff. We have I don't know how long playing Fire.
Oh, I thought you said my name.
Sure he's been out pretty long for himself. So these are all like they've always been like the pickup artistry, the general and betterment of health. The only thing that's great about like maybe like a Fresh and Fit figure is that they streamlined all that information and pretty much put it in one place. The same thing with Andrew Tate. It's just a combination of all those things of betterment.
Go ahead,
and yeah, okay.
Nick.
Yeah, shut your. I'm just kidding. Okay. So I think Airtight hit most of the bases. Basically, it's like it doesn't matter where it came from because what they're selling is the aesthetic. They say, "You're young men, we're here for you," right? And the young men go, "Yeah, you're gonna help me get my Bugatti," right? I think that's pretty much covered all the base there. I think I'm gonna just give that flat answer and I'm gonna take off here. If the left wants to win back masculinity, if the left wants to reclaim masculinity, which it should, and if it doesn't, it's very stupid. And if the left wants to get young men back involved, what it needs is a few young men or men in general that like fall on their own sword, basically sacrifice whatever the fuck they want to be, whatever they want to look like, and look more like me, and play more into this super quintessential, stereotypical masculine thing that everyone looks at and says, well, yeah, that's like masculinity or whatever. Ideally, people better than me with more accolades than me, and then you do little things to push the envelope, little subversions to expand what can be for men. Like one example right now, I'll give you. Is, like I'm literally wearing like jean shorts, right? Which people will call me like people in the manosphere and shit will call me like
That's
gay.
fucking feminine, dude.
I can see where he's coming from, but the problem is that you've already tried this, and people reject Hassan Piker wholly. That's why we say that it's a grifting structure. It's an aesthetic. If the aesthetic is, listen, you say that I'm not a masculine man, I have things that you don't have, and I look like this. Get your game up, boy. We literally already do that. It's called, she didn't let me hit because I'm masculine. She didn't let me hit because I'm goofy. I made her laugh and laugh, laugh and laugh, laugh and laugh, and then she met God. And then she met God. I filled her with Christ. And then after I filled her with Christ, she walked to the bathroom and dropped the kids off at the pool. Get like me, leftist. We've already done that. And they are still winning on that regard, because all of the shit posters that people like to say will never amount to anything are then able to demonstrate that not only can they find partners, but they're able to have happy, successful situations, relationships, societies, businesses, and cultures, and they continue to monetize dumbass racial grifters and dumbass haters on the internet. We all do. Even when it comes to the barometer of, well, are you as big as insert big left named here? The answer isn't, am I as successful as them? The answer is, am I successful? Am I producing money? Have I produced a moderate amount of money relative to my position? And am I growing as a result of my work? For people like me, the answer is yes. For people like Jay, the answer is yes. For people like Mahler, the answer is yes. For people like ER, the answer is yes. For people like Dev, short of Otaku, the answer is yes. For people like Sargon, the answer is very much yes. To the point where they're being demonetized by YouTube because they don't like the fact that they have formulated a news program that does not have the beholden behavior of normal fucking media. In the viewpoint of the current position, does this apply to businesses and organizations and sublet funds like National Public Radio, NPR? It does not. Why? Because they're state media that represents the position of the current form of government, to the point where they have been defunded and have had their grants removed from them. And they are now angry that they're being marked with the label of state-affiliated media that they would push onto their Chinese rivals. All of those things can all be centered back to the idealistic framework of, I am like this, and yet you mock me, but I have more things than you. This is effectively what was done by people like iDubbbz. This is effectively what was done by people like Ethan Klein. This is effectively what was done by any person who used to be edgy, then cleaned up their image or abandoned the image that they used to have in order to become a person who dumps on a particular viewpoint, a particular ideology, a particular framework, a particular lifestyle choice, a particular lifestyle aesthetic, and said, look at these losers, they're not like me, they should be like me, and I can still do these things because I have fuck you money. It's like, of course you can. You have fuck you money. I imagine I could do whatever the fuck I want and spend how much money I could want if I had a channel that can produce infinite amounts of cash because I am the preferred creator of YouTube. Not many people get to say that. And attempting to outright admit that you're willing to subvert them is a bit noxious because that means you're not being genuine. It's not the case that it's not what you say it is, right? There's a difference between I have changed nothing about myself. I am a, quote, peak left male. I'm able to dress how I want, I can go where I want, I can eat what I want, I can be who I want. And not a single thing that I am doing is going to physically harm you in your personal life, in your politics, or anywhere else entirely. And you come to me and say, oh boy, are you winning like Hassan Piker? No, I'm not winning like Hassan Piker. I'm winning like me. And I'm happy. I don't have to worry about not being able to stream a video game that I want to play because I have to concern myself with my political ideology, my group, and my chat fucking flaming me for the last time that I antagonized a trans person on my fucking stream and told them, shut the fuck up, tranny, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you're just trans. And saying anything other than the truth as a cope. I don't have to do that. And neither does the word hypothetical leftist male. Meanwhile, on the other side, oh no, I can wear all these jean shorts and shit because you see, I am not a chud. I have achieved nirvana. I don't have to worry about these concerns. I ain't gotta worry about this shit. Cause fuck you. You should be more like me, rightist chud. It's not the same. It'll never be the same. Especially not if you outright say, oh no, we need to get them to do it. We need to trick them into doing it. We need to convince them into doing it. We need to make ourselves look so appealing that they don't want to be anywhere else other than here. That's already what you've been doing, and it has not been working. They will not wear the femboy jeans because they know that wearing the femboy jean shorts is not going to result in the outcome that you claim and promise that it will. They know that they'll never be a part of the group. They know that they'll never be truly accepted. They know that they'll never truly be given the opportunity to be the same as everyone else. They'll always be a second cast content creator or audience member.
For wearing jean shorts.
So basically, they know that they can't do that because no matter what their aesthetic is, they'll be just like Xander Hall after he abandoned the identity of Pick Puncher. He will never truly be a true, full-fledged member of the left. He'll always be the member with a dubious past.
I'm like, oh man, it just shows off my legs, bro. It just shows off my ass, dude. Like, it's good for aesthetics. And also, I go like, shut up, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if they're talking shit about it. And it's like, these things that we want to be allowed for men to do, the only way to make it allowed for all these misogynistic, sexist men is for masculine men that are clearly masculine to own these things and say, nah, these are mine too.
Can I ask you 2 questions before you leave, Nick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first question is this, is that, do you think that maybe the left might be abandoning the actual masculine trait? Because, like, okay...
Yes. That's not even a question that you need to ask. Yes, they did. Because to be masculine is to be toxic. Because toxic masculinity. How dare you try to explain things to people? How dare you even do this in the presence of Erudite? You sexist! Look at her. Stretching her arm. Feral woman in her environment. Look at her. Unkempt. Unwashed. White. But no, seriously.
Backtrack a little bit. I believe that a lot of people and a lot of politicians and a lot of companies look at things politically that gets them more votes, that gives them better shit, just in general. Okay?
Yes, the exact same thing that left does politically when it comes to optics and argumentation.
Do you think that maybe the left looks at masculinity and says this is a thing that is of the past,
Yep.
and we're going to move
Yes.
on from it because it doesn't actually really matter to make us keep getting voted in, as well as companies to keep making profits and capital, liquidity? Do you think that maybe that this might be happening compared to the right where they're looking back?
No shit, dumbass, it's happening. What the fuck? What? What?
Onto it and trying to actually grow off of like what everything's moving forward from?
I don't like the characterization of moving backwards for the right, but that's definitely what the left is doing, is trying to abandon masculinity. I don't want to necessarily
Do you
speak
think
to
it's a good thing? Not a good thing, but like, do you think it's going to hurt them? I think. I guess. I mean, like,
Of course it does. Whenever you try to abandon anything with like reason and common sense for what is the best optical thing to do for a control concern group, you can always be able to make money off of it, but you also lose the ability to gain access to that thing. And what the left is realizing is that there are a lot more people who are willing to actually stand their ground and truly go through and fall down on a boycott than there are people who are just going to simply give in or just simply abandon an argument and say, fuck them, I don't want to be near them, I'm going to go over here. People are giving you pushback, and you're not used to it. You're used to them being timid. You're used to them being a member of the Uniparty, and basically being soft on whatever particular talking point they're supposed to be hard on. Or them being hard in rhetoric, but then when it comes time to actually nut up or shut up, being soft on the behavior. People are actually following through with the threat. I say threat. It's more like people are following through with protecting their own.
Jumping in, like from the leftist point of view, I agree that
You just want to ramble?
what do you say?
Do you want to hear from someone from the left about what they think about
yeah, I want to hear
masculinity?
what's his name? Obnulitates.
Close enough. Like I think the left is moving away from or I don't think it's moving away. I don't think it's ever adopted a form of masculinity that's tied to the political values. Like that's something that you could do if like Nick kept saying before, like if we want to win, and that's something we kind of have to do because the right's winning with that. Like they found a spot that no one else is doing, no other political party's doing. They found.
But is it
these other
working?
men.
Is what I'm trying to say here. Like it seems.
That depends. Are you talking about politically down political aisles? As long as there's a uniparty, nobody, quote, wins. It's who's losing less. And in terms of the culture war, the pendulum is swinging to the left. Everything that has happened is a result of constantly being hit up with ESG, is constantly being hit up with DEI, is constantly being woke scolded down to by people on the internet telling you to keep hating your working class life. It has been constant antagonization and removal and rotting and gutting from tourists entering into your personal spaces and telling you, what, you don't like that we censored all the things that you enjoy as hobby and escapism? Fuck you! You deserve it! All of those things are centralized in the behavior of a left wing that wants to be as return to Puritanian as they possibly can be, adopting the positions of people of Jack Thompson, adopting the positions of people like Neil Druckmann and Anita Sarkeesian, and doing so in a framework that disallows them from being able to enjoy anything, because now they can't enjoy anything, because to enjoy that kind of chuddy behavior makes you a chud by association. And because chuds can't be anything other than a chud-like person, it means that they can't be anything other than this thing. They can't stop being a sinner, because they're enjoying sinful things. You can't do that, comrade. We need to deconstruct capitalism, and then go to the fucking sock hop.
Seems like it's not really working.
Statistically, it's working.
Well, it's not getting them seats because these motherfuckers don't vote because they're anti-institutional.
Right. This is what I'm
Young
saying.
men.
Okay, so this is perfect erudite. This is exactly what I'm trying to hit at right here. Is that like, is the left really abandoning this because those people that they're losing don't vote?
Well, we have to be clear about what we're talking about when we're talking about the left, because there's culture war and then there's political war, and these things are obviously overlapping. But as anti-institutional, everyone knows leftists don't vote either, motherfuckers. Okay,
Yeah.
so you want to talk about like
They vote pretty well compared to the right, though, erudite. You have to
no,
admit
that's
that.
totally from the
Yeah, they are. Okay, far left is sure, but center left and center right come out the most.
I think you're using Democrats versus Republicans. That's what you're trying to speak about.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah, I
not
feel
trying to
like a
speak
lot of
left.
people-
You're using the words leftist and rightist.
Yeah, I should
but
say
you don't mean
Democrats
that.
and
You mean
Republicans.
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
I just want to say that
Yeah.
on that point, like overall, like Andrew Tate is bigger than the US. Like it has an influence in the Netherlands as well, or like in fucking India or something along those lines. So if we talk about like Democrats and Republicans, I don't. It's a social thing that is like
So
happening.
we need
worldwide,
to,
and he's
Chinchilla, you're saying,
Japanese.
hey, Chinchilla, you're basically saying that the people that are influencers are more, should be not even cracked down more, but we should make public policies in a sense
I'm
to
not
battle
saying
these
anything
people
like that.
because they're so big that they make a wave through the entire world.
The
And then we have to battle them.
Like, they're ripple.
No, you should not make social policies and make political conscriptions against influencers you don't like, because then you set up the tools that will then be used against you in the future. Imagine if I, or anybody with a brain, who understands how this system works, were to be put into a position of power, where we could then do to you what you did to everybody who was anti-Gamergate during the Goobergay. And I decided that, oh, we're deplatforming our political rivals from being able to earn money from ad sponsorships, from being preferred ad channels. That's a great idea! Everybody who's currently preferred in ad channels, let's go back through your history and see if you've done anything chud-like. And every single one of them, pop, 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 pop. Everyone from iDubbbz all the way down to New Era H3H3. Every single one of you motherfuckers. Pop, 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 pop. Time for you to get your Patreon devalued. Time for you to get your Patreon closed because of the sexist behavior that you did. Oh man, from a certain viewpoint, the way that you dropped that hard R, I don't know, it just means that you're not somebody who deserves to have this money. You don't deserve a platform. But I speak against all these things and all these issues. That's not who I am. Sorry, bro. Shouldn't have said hard R on camera. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the end of time. That's what you've set up. That's what you've allowed. That's what's happening. And it's fucking cringe that it's happening.
A question. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen in the election? Say Trump runs. Say Trump gets indicted and thrown in jail for a little bit, but he still runs because he can still run. And say Andrew Tate goes, this man's against the matrix. How many men do you think will turn up to vote that have never voted before and never would have? Do
I think you would also see I think you would also see erudite the opposite. I think you would see a lot of people that are against Andrew Tate that don't vote go and vote against Donald Trump too. I think that you would see an actual battle between the two sides. That's what we saw in 2020. People.
An actual battle against two sides in a political election that clearly, regardless of the amount of illegitimate votes, was a legitimate voting. You would eventually then see people start to do the same shit again, including insurrection. Except when it's insurrection on the Tennessee Capitol, we don't send them to jail and we don't lock them up. But when it's on the Capitol Hill, because this should happen, defend the Capitol Hill, but then basically excuse and say, actually, it deserves to happen that they should get shot in the back of the head when they're not even breaking into official chambers. Because reasons. That's what you're saying. You're saying if these things happen again, well, that's what we're going to end up seeing. Because Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate does not have the political capital to get people to go vote. Even if he's able to tie it into a fringe issue or a general issue like that of the election of 2024. You're more likely to see something like that come from Stitch and come from Razorfist than you are from Andrew Tate. Let alone from me. Or anyone else. Of any amount of size or any amount of clout. Does not matter anywhere on that spectrum. You are more likely to see people do another Capitol Hill run or another state legislature run and then a protest in the building where they're not removed because political reasons, than you are to see Andrew Tate endorse Donald Trump, on any platform, really. Doesn't even matter if you said the shit on fucking InfoWars. You're more likely to see any other amount of political chaos than you are to hear and see Andrew Tate endorse Donald Trump. He probably would, if he wants to get the maximum payout from doing so. And it'll be a political move that people will see through. But in the mind of a leftist, that's like the same.
I don't like to say that. The reason why Biden, there's two reasons. Trump, and he did terrible during COVID, and Biden's going to do better. Those are the two reasons Trump won. Or Trump
That's
we got a
the
problem,
people
Rampage.
would vote against Trump, but no one's going to vote against Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate may be able to incite people to vote, but no one's going to say, oh, Andrew Tate said vote for this guy. Not many people are going to say, all right, I'll vote for the opposite. It's
And also, if
I think the
Andrew
idea
Tate
that
stands,
like,
I'll bet you
it's like
tons of
people, the idea that people are like voting, like the people who are with the person or against the person is a little bit different from how it actually works. Like people like Andrew Tate's in like ripple waves throughout our entire society.
Exactly.
People know who Andrew Tate is and they subscribe to his ideas. And if you ask like an Andrew Tate lover, what do you think about Andrew Tate? Almost 100% of the time, like, I don't agree with everything he says, but he spits some facts here and there. Basically, at some degree of sexism, misogyny, or whatever the word says.
we see this on the left too.
What do you think of SinglePlayerCarl? Well, I don't know. I don't like the way he uses the words that would only be associated with Jim Crow era for a comedic effect, but I guess I can agree with some of his takes, even though I might not personally agree with everything he says. I think he's right on some things. What are you, a fucking chud? That guy's a chud. You shouldn't be listening to him. I don't know. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. You know, if he suggests that you shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because you don't like the person. It's not even a matter of a clock being right twice a day. It's more like, if the clock's fucking functioning, all you gotta do is change the fucking batteries. Just change the fucking battery, you know? No! Chud! Throw everything out! Everything must go! Fire sale! Fire sale!
He says this, at some degree, people agree with like his prescriptions like for society. A lot of men. It's more than you think.
Cap.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look at Bernie Sanders. Look at Bernie Sanders. Ripple through the entire world.
I think
You know?
I think that's true as well, but I think that like
Yeah, I
you
don't
know, I
think
think that
Bernie's
Andrew
No,
Andrew
Bernie
Tate-
and Smart.
Andrew Tate-
Andrew Tate-
no.
I think this is your bubble talk.
like, yeah, do you live in a major city, Paul? Because like Bernie Sanders, yeah, he's huge.
Oh.
World.
I think
You know?
I think that's true as
No.
well, but I think that like
Yeah,
you know,
I
I
don't
think
think
that Andrew
Bernie
Andrew
No,
Andrew
Bernie
Tate-
and Smart.
Do you live in
Andrew
Andrew
Tate-
Tate?
I think this is your bubble talk.
Like, yeah.
The single statement basically wraps around the entire point that they were going on about earlier. It is just your fucking bubble talking. Thank you, Erudite.
Do you live in a major city, Paul? Because like Bernie Sanders, yeah,
Yeah.
he's huge in major cities. That's where you'll
No,
see
I
the
think
rebel.
no. I'm saying not Bernie Sanders in
actually
general. I'm not saying Bernie Sanders in general. I'm saying Bernie Sanders' policies and socialism across the entire globe. When Bernie started making a run in 2015 all the way up, it really did ripple across the globe. Like,
Not at all.
No, and also, there's a difference between saying, look, Bernie Sanders, and listen, Bernie Sanders policies. The kind of policies that people like Bernie Sanders were pushing. It irradiated, and even then you still wouldn't have a fucking point.
You're actually city
You don't
bubbling
think
with
so?
that.
Nazis drink water too, you know.
You're inner city bubbling with that. Like,
I'm not going to say bubbling. I think that did happen. I mean, look, we have to battle
What
people on
countries
the
do you
left.
think adopted his policy? Because
I-
most
I
countries
think-
that would
I think
adopt
there's a lot of public. I think there's a lot
America
of.
didn't even adopt his policies.
most of the countries
very
that would
pro-Bernie
be
policies.
pro-Bernie already are further ahead on America on leftist
Yeah,
topics,
I-
but there's not
I'm
a lot of
talking
politics
internet-wise.
being
I'm talking internet-wise.
I-
roughly.
Look at the internet. They're fucking. What the fuck? Go.
Why are we leaving the voting populace and now talking about? Okay, we have,
Okay,
we have to make a
Erudite,
separation.
Erudite.
Stop. We need to make a separation between voting populace and social culture.
I
Because
agree.
we're talking
Social
about political
culture.
voting.
I agree.
But if you're
I
moving
agree.
now Bernie Sanders internet, that's a different conversation. And
But-
to be clear, Bernie Sanders compared to Tate is like comparing like a small tadpole to like a big king frog.
No.
It's not compare. Yes.
No, you think Bernie's influence is less?
Social internet culture. Political arena. Comparing Bernie Sanders to Andrew Tate in their particular arenas is a comparison of a tadpole to a dominant masculine frog. Andrew Tate would probably get rolled in a social conversation about issues and policies, especially if it involves somebody like Sanders, who has been one for years. And yet, as a political pundit who has been in power for years, Bernie Sanders would get rolled on internet culture because he's not going to be up on the fucking lingo or the talking points or the memes or the culture as a whole, let alone in tandem to the goal, and it will be confusing to him for everyone's concern. To the point of frustration.
Then answer
Let me
Nate's
give a great example, right?
No
So
shot.
all of us alive in like 2016 during the anti-SJW era.
Yes.
That era has shaped every single person in this panel's political beliefs, believe it or not,
True.
whether you know it or not.
Yep.
Millions, maybe tens of millions of Americans, they've grown up from that era, and that shaped our genuine.
I wouldn't believe that tens of millions of Americans had their culture shaped by the anti-SJW era of the internet. Because the anti-SJWs and the SJWs weren't shaping the political culture and their political talking points. They were shaping the internet culture of the internet culture. Hearing and seeing people like the Amazing Atheist and Sargon of Akkad is going to be formative to some people who were hearing multiple sides. If all they were doing was watching compilations, all they have in their head is pieces of information that made up old, archaic, at this point, memes that don't relate to the current populace, because some of those people might be dead, no longer have a career, have advanced forward and moved past the old identity that they used to have, or not even the same person in the whole spec because they might have transitioned, or they might have become an entirely different person in entirety with an even new handle. So literally Xander Hall. And if your culture can be shaped by videos of compilations, you have a weak ideological structure and you will not survive the winter. Period.
Culture, our identities, and who we are to this very day. Bernie Sanders does not have that kind of effect. He just can't.
If you're talking straight up in terms of
What is that
reach,
much
like who
like
saw the ideas, then yeah, sure, maybe Bernie Sanders reached pretty far.
Okay.
But if you're talking in terms of people who actually like look into what they're saying, who actually like are affected by it, Andrew Tate had a huge reach. Like it's not even.
Andrew Tate had a huge reach. Has or had. Because if he had a huge reach, it's not a concern anymore. He's not important. If he has a large reach, I would argue to you why when he is the laughing stock of the internet.
One of the most searched people on Google. Like in July, he was. No, if you, I'm sorry. If you think that Bernie Sanders is more relevant in social culture than Tate, you're delusional. You
No
need
shot.
To no, you need to touch
I'll die
grass.
on this hill.
Yeah.
I'll die on this hill with
Then
you.
you- then you're dead.
This is the worst hill to die on.
Bro, you are dead. There's no way that you can say that somebody like Bernie Sanders is more influential in the internet culture space than Andrew Tate. The effect that he has to the point where he has people posting clips of himself, promising them payment, and then never paying them. Promising his fans, spread my shit around, and you will see money appear into your fucking accounts. No! No shot! No shot!
This is insane.
You asked me. You directly. Oh,
Hey.
You-
Whoa, shut up. Whoa, oh my god. Oh my god. You like Andrew Tate? Shut
Nobody.
up.
Are you okay?
Dying, literally dying.
We're not arguing that.
Is this what it means to be a masculine male on the left? Let's talk over women and say how much we hate Andrew Tate.
Nobody knew Andrew Tate until like a year and a half ago, dog. I think this weird thing happens throughout culture where we smuggle all this random into masculinity, and it's basically just everything.
Somehow I got pushed back to the beginning. I believe this is the moment. I believe this was the moment.
Right? None of us need to be here. This conversation doesn't matter because everything's under control. If we're
That is very true. This
And
conversation
leave, Will.
will damage
No, wait,
all
Will,
of your-
leave. Just leave. Yes, please, God, for the love of God, Will.
But hold on. But if we're right, if we're even just kind of onto something, ignoring it is
I'm not ignoring it.
horrible.
I'm not
You know,
ignoring it.
it's just factual.
I'm just saying. I just
Oh my
can't
god.
believe
Calm down. Shut up. I'm gonna mute something.
The microphone cutting. It begins! The microphone cutting begins! And this is the reason why people don't like debates. Like, even if his upsetism is hilarious, you shouldn't cut his microphone. Because the point is that you want to bring people in, right? What kind of image do you think this says when you cut his microphone? There's no better example. There's no better example. There will probably be better examples in the future, but there's no better example. You hit on a point finally, because the woman has to get you there, doing her divine female job of leading the men. She's able to get you to understand that, yeah, you kind of need to have some of these things work out for you, and you also need to realize where things are relevant and not where they're irrelevant. It is irrelevant to try and compare the opinions of Andrew Tate to the opinions of Sanders, because it's not a fucking conversation point. But at the same time, you say, how do we bring over men and convince them that we're not dog shit? Back to the waiting room, shall we? I'm sitting here with the choice between left wing and right wing. Actually, no. Let's go apple juice and grape juice. Of left wing and right wing. Because we gotta keep that grape drink for the right. We gotta keep that grape drink for the right. And while I'm considering these two affable sources, where one says it's 100% apple juice, and the other one says that it's a grape blend, I hear from the other room, no! Don't you understand? If you like grape juice, you're a Nazi! You're a Nazi! It doesn't matter how much percentage of grape is in there. If you like any amount of grape, you are actually subhuman. There's no way that there's a conversation where people are going to prefer grape juice over apple juice. Apple juice literally didn't exist but over a year ago, where he came up out of the F from, because motherfuckers stopped drinking pomegranate because the pomegranate factory burned down. That doesn't fucking matter, bro. Doesn't fucking matter, bro. It doesn't fucking matter, bro. Okay, get the fucking apple juice lover out of here. Get the apple juice lover out of here. There's no better comparison. People sit in here, you do that with what you're supposed to be as intellectuals able to hold as debate amongst yourselves, and you can't even be able to demonstrate this high-minded, calm, collected, civil perception that you have for your ideological frameworks. As you attempt your best neocum and still fail to achieve neocum, somehow you hold these truths in your mind and you still find yourselves cutting each other's microphones. Because you realize some of y'all are fucking retarded. And it's only after this deep discussion that you're able to figure out, maybe that's part of the reason why. Maybe that's also part of the reason why we can't get people to buy our shit. Because we can't even agree on how we're supposed to sell our shit. We can't even agree on what product we're selling.
I want to talk about something. So we've established, we all agree that Andrew Tate, for example, the anti-SJW stuff and that internet presence is more popular than Bernie Sanders. We largely agree. But I think the most important thing is...
They either kicked him or he left. He either kicked him or he left.
Why is that the case? All right, I think a lot of it has to do, you know, I don't want to go back to like we have a phone in our pockets. A lot of it has to do with that.
And now the entire conversation is centralized around the woman. Femininity wins again.
Technology. Unpopular videos that make you upset are super popular. They get recommended to probably all of us, even if we're largely leftist in the panel.
Because that's how algorithms work. People find them to be popular, so they're pushed into the algorithm for you to find and enjoy. This is contraposed to the TikTok algorithm, which tries to tell you what it decided is popular and puts it there. Because for some reason, people forget how algorithms are actually designed to work. It's not just, oh, you like a thing and you watch the thing, so I'll show you more of the thing. That's what happens if you're using a YouTube algorithm and you have people dictate and decide what they want to be popular. But at the same time, they want to keep you in the, quote, pipeline. Yes, let's support you after you've watched a single video of this with other videos that is associated with this content creator. It's like if I could show you the sidebar right now for this video itself. Cynical reviews, Vapor Memory, Boat Knife, Broken Crown, but see, I didn't refresh this, so this is based on what was happening when we were talking about this on Wednesday, not today, because it's still telling me that Broken Crown is live, and I know that it's not live, because I just DM'd Aiden, not but like maybe 35 minutes ago. This Trulik League Legends channel, Not So Erudite video, Dalabon HQ recap video about Dan Zerker and Coronis, about Kumsity and the Mr. Girl shit, Not So Erudite video from 11 months ago about Anna, another Not So Erudite video, Jason Sanders regularly scheduled programming Vaporwave mix, etc., down the line. All these videos are being suggested on the side of the algorithm, not because I have watched videos from this creator before, and therefore it wants me to see more of her content. That's part of it. It's that it's showing me videos that have a high amount of views, or that I have watched before on my view session that is in the preference of the pipeline that it wants to send me on. So because I listen to a lot of fucking music mixes on YouTube, it is how I source my playlists and my music lists. It will have that there. The same way that it drops the cynical review for how Vemma became the most hated show of all time. It's showing me that because other people have watched the video and it's highly rated. And it's a guaranteed content creator who's certified verified, because not only do they have ad sponsors in the video, they also are a large content creator with a large showing for the video size. At least to the point that they have a verified checkmark. That's how those things work. It's not just because, well, we have opinion, plus therefore algorithm, therefore TikTok dances, therefore sexy women, therefore thirst traps, therefore women flashing their titties on the timeline, flashing their coos on the timeline, or even the worst trend, women getting facials done by their boyfriends and husbands, and then recording innocuous TikToks while people pretend like they don't see a woman walking around with nut on her face. My brain hurts, man. My brain hurts. Please, somebody get the Clout Shark clone out of here.
And Andrew Tate is a demagogue. We don't have the same thing as a leftist men's advocate demagogue. That's not
Yes, we do. His name is Hassan Piker. That's just one of the 10.
That's not a thing. I mean, how can any leftist compete with Yogi Bugatti in the future? Like, I can't.
The way that they're competing right now, except that they're not competing as well because the esports space is dying. Because all of their money is built in crypto, and all of their money is built in making money off the same things that all their favorite politicians are doing in stocks. Which, in and of itself, is a different separate issue. But on the issue, no, you're wrong. No, you are wrong. You are so wrong.
And no leftists can promise that.
Andrew Tate's real.
What do you mean? Leftists can promise healthcare. They can promise just like in general, like that's just
Stop. You're actually going to a bunch of like 14-year-old boys, and on one side, some guy's like, I got a bunch of.
Doesn't that what the healthcare? Doesn't that what the rental does
I
too?
beg of you, if you're interested in this, please listen. You got on one side, somebody's offering 14-year-olds cigarettes with crack in it and whores to. And on the other side, you're like, I got a pamphlet on healthcare. That's actually what you're arguing right now.
I'm arguing.
They can make paper airplanes. Nobody cares.
Erudite, I'm arguing that you guys are underestimating how strong the left-wing people are. This is crazy. I can't believe this.
I didn't know the juice box. That was some good coke. I'm gonna pretend it's alcohol and drink and sip until I get to how fucking drunk you are. Holy shit. Oh shit, that is fucking cap. Oh lord. My brain cells hurt now. Even more than they were 5 seconds ago. You don't understand. You're underestimating how strong lefties are. Okay. Alright. Okay, buddy. Alright, okay. Okay, alright. Alright, okay. Okay, alright.
Center left. I'm a very. I don't even. I can't believe it.
We can do a followers check on Andrew Tate versus Bernie Sanders right now. Like, we can do a Google search check.
Yes,
like, we can demonstrably show
I
that
did.
Andrew Tate.
Today alone, Andrew Tate made 66 Google searches, where Bernie Sanders did 11. So he's 6 times more
Okay,
popular.
that's fine. We're talking about the ripple. I thought we were talking about the ripple. I thought we were talking about the ripple.
The ripple of how dumb that point was?
Times more popular than
I thought we were talking about the ripple.
We are.
Really quick. Sorry, one thing, and then I actually gotta get out of here. So thanks so much. Last thing I want to say is, so even if Paul's like totally right, and we're not, or mostly right, and we're mostly wrong, and we're overblowing all this or whatever, right? There's this whole other issue that's gonna be a really big problem, which is right now there's a whole bunch of young men, especially, that are devoting their entire life to the Sigma grind, crazy psychotic shit, where they're saying we're gonna swear off women and relationships and giving our heart away to any bit for like the next number of years, and most of them are gonna fail, right? They're gonna fail miserably, right? But there's definitely a non-insubstantial amount of these guys that are succeeding already, and that are going to continue to succeed into the extent like that has never probably been seen before. And then these guys are going to become old people with lots of money and probably really conservative rental values.
There's something to be said about the level of like American exceptionalism that he promotes, and you're actually working towards bettering yourself and actually like getting the grind, and then from like getting educated and maybe finding a social group that actually follows your beliefs and actually grows on those beliefs. Past all the deeper aspects of the human trafficking and the sex for nothing and the horrible dating.
I mean, that's not part of the message. That's part of the background of what he's using for the message. I just realized I'm not wearing my hoodie. Where's my hoodie? It's over there. When people use frameworks, and I wish the left would get this. I'm going to write this down once I put my hoodie on. What I wish leftists would understand is that the social trafficking is not physically related to the concept of the principle and the value that it is being co-opted to. Right? Now this goes on my head because unfortunately this headset is now broken in a way that I can't fix, and if I nudge it poorly, it stops working entirely. To use hoodies to secure it in place because it doesn't like staying on my head. There we go. So like, where's the pad? There it is. attaching a bad image to a good concept, good or neutral concept, doesn't negate the value of the base concept. It only muddies the image of the person it is attached to. So, like, when you say Andrew Tate gives a bad rap to conservatism, he's not a conservative. He is a grifter. Andrew Tate gives a bad rap to Muslims. He is not a legitimate Muslim. He is using Muslim for the same reason that he claimed that he'd be using the Romanian government to get away from the corrupt Western government and its law enforcement policies. Andrew Tate gives a bad name to the Sigma grind set, even in his own philosophy of attaching himself to the idea of the Sigma grind culture. The Sigma grind culture existed long before Andrew Tate, and his particular flavor branding of that attachment will not undo the many people who still perform or work with the philosophy of the Sigma grind set. Because realistically, the grind culture isn't a right-wing philosophy. It is a business philosophy. It is a enrichment philosophy. The majority of people in the left right now who are popular household names are people who were streaming back when Twitch was in its infancy. And it was still a website that had a particular gamer-centered culture around playing video games and liking to play video games. And what has become now is a website where people play video games, but it's more about doing whatever possible to go viral. Even if it's getting slammed in a debate. And with that debate bro background, people who discuss things in these debates, like this one here, tie good or neutral concepts to the bad image of a figurehead, or a political figure, or a framework of an ideology, or an action, or mindset, or a philosophy within a martial background. Something that isn't academic, but is much more hands-on, roots, blue-collar. Because it's certainly not white-collar, because these motherfuckers do not work in capital America around syndication, because they don't want to. They make more money on the internet getting donos. They are specifically framed in a political framework, where this particular perception of how they speak and act is reflected in how they choose to discuss and describe who they're talking to and how they are talking to them. They are not helping them in any capacity. When you muddy the good image of something like hard work and ethics and values by saying your opinions and your viewpoints have been sublet by Andrew Tate and the right, hashtag TM, trait snark, because it's dumb. Just because you said Andrew Tate next to the word of grind culture isn't going to undo grind culture. That, unironically, would have been a thing that if you wanted to discuss things like patriarchy or masculinity as it's seen from a cultural nexus, where a video like that from Signifier would have made sense. Because Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, I'm doing it again, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, is not a person who has any kind of relationship to the red pill communities. He's not in them. He doesn't care for them. He might come up in them because he's a fucking yuppie who believes in grind culture. And if at that point you were to try to make a connection between Gary V and grind culture and Andrew Tate and the red pill, it would be tangential at best. And yet, that's exactly what you guys are doing here, that he did there. You're attaching a bad image of a person that you perceive as bad to a base concept value, and you're devaluing the base concept and then leaving the base concept behind. because you want to destroy the image of the person you associate to it, without realizing the value that comes from hard work and labor. You didn't get to where you were by luck alone. It took talent, it took skill, it took time, it took precedence, it took honing your craft. Your craft. You had to hone your craft, your clavicle, guys. It's all in the fucking hips. You just gotta do all this shit a lot. Just do this shit a lot. And you eventually, you'll become a big platform creator. Just do this. That's all you gotta do. It's all in the hips, baby. It's all in the hips. It is all in the hips. It takes hard work and hard labor. Learning your craft. You have to do a lot of fucking effort to become capable of arriving at the point where you can discuss these issues and be able to suss out what the fuck is the issue and what is the problem. This is why hindsight is usually better, because you can't really discern these things in the middle of debate when your mind is hot, unless you're capable of running cold. And then you'll get accused of not caring because you're not showing passion. But then if you get over passionate, you'll be accused of being angry and mad. And if you throw a fucking tantrum, you get your microphone cut. The ability to discuss things in this matter is a skill. And people have not honed that skill. Because they were told, abandon what you know, it will not be necessary for this adventure and exercise.
Yeah. But there's still a lot of positives within an Andrew Tate's message, unfortunately.
Past the sex trafficking, there's some positives. I you know.
The issue is there is, right? They're talking to like really basic shit, right? Like Andrew Tate's positives are like...
Whoop, I've been summoned in the chat. Would love to see your take on B. Mask's Fantastic Four video. Wasn't sure if you were a decent type of Marvel fan. I like comic books. Add it to the podcast ideas. Will only watch Twitch because of Wooly and Pat. You should also watch it because of me. But less shilling of me, more to the end of this. Because there's still another video, and now I guess another video on top of that to be discussed and watched on the next stream.
Work out, stop being like overweight, start trying to like actually make something of yourself. Which are like the issue is that's more advice that 16-year-old young boys who don't have a dad, whose teachers hate them, who are getting seduced into gangs. That's more good advice than they're getting fucking anywhere. Because reality, 16-year-old boys aren't listening to Bernie Sanders because he's a crusty old man. Even though he's amazing. I love
It's boring.
I'm gonna say this. Like basically, like if you, I'm from another country, right? So I'm from Europe. So basically, like if you go to middle school and you ask, who do you know when it comes to social media concerns, right? You get like PewDiePie or you get some sort of Minecrafter, but you also hear like Andrew Tate. So, but they don't know who Bernie Sanders is. They just don't know. So if you
I'm very surprised.
Yeah, you are, but you should wake up to
No,
this.
no, we're not saying- I don't
Before Andrew Tate is a
They are so stuck on Bernie Sanders. It is unfucking real.
mom.
Before
And
people
disappears.
that really wanted to be like Mr. Beast, and then before Mr. Beast, there were people that wanted to be like
Mr. Beast.
PewDiePie.
I just say
Mr.
huge
Beast,
ripple.
and
I say
he's
huge
like-
ripple.
I mean, people can want to be like Mr. Beast and PewDiePie. They can be like a person who started out with a video game passion and eventually grew that into a words are hard, into a business media empire and is now expecting his first child, and they can aspire to be a online YouTube philanthropist who uses his money to create not only the backdrops for world-shattering record videos, but also help as many people as possible along the way, and then bring in the attention, bring in the clout, bring in the everything from making said videos and allowing it to be demonstrated how easily fucking weak the left is by showing that when you're doing the things that they claim people should do, they then scream, "No, not like that!" It's possible to do both. It's possible to do both. Because it's as easy as saying, I want to be a successful YouTuber and streamer. If you say that I want to be a popular and famous Twitch streamer, what you end up getting is Invader V in tights and stockings with rainbows on them, screaming about how she was giving the real good gawk from Destiny because he liked how fat her ass was.
Not a politician.
Guys have way more influence on culture and pop culture, that kind of stuff. Bernie Sanders doesn't have that in the Netherlands.
Did you go to public school or private school? Like,
Sorry?
Paul, did you go to public school or private school?
Why does that matter?
It matters a lot. It matters because like
I'm
who are
surprised.
these people that you're around that are saying like your peers in high school?
So, he's asking that question there. Did you go to public school or private school? Because if you went to public school, and that was what he was hearing, that is a demonstration of politics and culture shaping the viewpoint of the youth. This is the first pipeline, by the way, that your children get put into. The school pipeline. Because whatever is accepted in private schools is going to be what they are taught. If they're in private school, too, is a pipeline where they're getting programmed with a particular form of thought, especially the kind that their parents might want, because their parents didn't put them in public school, they put them into private and parochial school. So they might be getting a framework that prepares them for the outside world, or they might be getting a religious framework if they're going to a religious school that is programming them with a particular set of values that they may or may not ignore as they give the gawk in the back of the guy's car.
You're saying we're more interested in.
I don't want to discuss the moot point.
Listen, really quick. I'm surprised that you guys actually believe this by all the internet. That's everybody's left on the internet. Every single social media.
That's not
And
true.
that is very true. You have to admit that. Yeah, sure. And I'm a center left guy. I agree with Erudite here. I think that there are. You know, Andrew Tate totally has huge influence. But I don't know, man. I think that it's like two different cultures. You got outside culture and you got internet culture. And internet culture is ruled by the entire sphere of what Bernie Sanders type of policies completely push through the entire.
Run that shit back again. That lie didn't sound right the first time.
Internet culture is ruled by the entire sphere of what Bernie Sanders type of policies completely push through the internet culture is ruled by the entire sphere of what Bernie Sanders type of policies completely push through the internet culture is ruled by the entire sphere of what Bernie Sanders type of policies completely push through the entire internet is ruled by the entire sphere of what.
That's what I thought I heard you say. Shit, that's some good coke. Go, what? Oh, Lord. No. How do you even achieve saying something like that? That's what I want to know. How do you even come to that framework? How do you get there? How did you arrive there? Anybody want to know in chat? Because I don't know how the fuck you achieve that. I don't even know how that's possible. We're almost done. Oh no, I've muted it.
And internet culture is ruled by the entire sphere of what Bernie Sanders type of policies completely push through the entire internet. And then you have the outside sphere, and now we have the internet versus the outside. This is not true.
You ever hear about the Egyptians there, Springs?
The issue, Rampage, is that we're kind of talking past each other a little bit. Because you're talking about Bernie Sanders, his career politician policies that have influenced lots of people, including Hassan and all these other rest. And you're, well, not just adults, there's lots of like young teens that are really like,
know about Bernie
hold on,
Sanders,
just
honestly.
listen. I disagree with him, clearly. What I'm saying, the issue is Andrew Tate is tapping into a group of people who have never been voter-based and also are most inclined to be antisocial and to be violent. Young, angry men. That's what he's tapping into. And we increasingly also have a political division in the states that is getting worse and worse and worse. And the issue is with the next Trump election, I'm not gonna like doom and be like, if there's a civil war, but if something becomes increasingly violent in the states, the Tate fans are something to seriously reckon with because they're the ones that'll have the guns and they're the ones most motivated to do violence because of the demographic that he's appealing to. He's absolutely appealing to a group, you're right, that won't vote. But he has appealed to probably more, but I'll even grant you the same amount of people as Bernie has in a year that Bernie built an entire career.
But do you not think that Andrew Tate through? Hold on.
Can we not talk about Bernie Sanders versus Andrew Tate?
I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders and Andrew Tate. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders and Andrew Tate. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders. Okay, hold on. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders and Andrew Tate right now. Sure, whatever. You guys win. So listen, do you not think that maybe Andrew Tate, with everything that's coming out right now, do you think that the red sphere is actually losing popularity in the last couple of months? Because I would say that that's kind of happening.
I think the big thing I'm trying to say, and the first thing I said before Airlight came on, is that the red sphere is just repackaged patriarchy, misogyny, and sexism. And
You're still wrong, by the way. If all of the red sphere, because you keep using terms dynastically to talk about a group monolithically instead of individualistically. Because first it was the red sphere, then it became Andrew Tate, then it became Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate, then it became the red pill community. Now we're back to the red sphere. Is it one group? Is it one person? Is it one school of thought? Or is it every single thing inside of this particular place that you call a world of the red spear? Hashtag Trium. Trade snark. Define your terms, define your enemy. If you cannot define your terms and define your enemy, you are fighting a fucking ghost. You're ultimately fighting a ghost.
that's never lost traction. Like it just evolves over time. I mean, a little bit.
The red sphere never loses traction. It evolves over time, like the inevitable return of Sinistar. Beware, I hunger.
When we get a little bit more rights over time, then we change things slightly, And that's about it. It's the same thing with any other equity
I
issue.
would love to make
any other equity issues such as race, for example. People get slightly less racist over time. The racists change shape, size, color. Things are just slightly different. That's it. It's just an evolution of patriarchy and sex. It's not going to disappear. There's no. Over time, the racists change shape, size, color. Things are just any other equity issues such as race, for example. People get slightly less racist over time. The racists change shape, size, color. Things are just slightly different.
That is good. That is a high 95% cope. Ooh, that is a high 95% cope. And yes, I do agree that she's conflating violent with competitive. However, let us not skip past that fucking retardation shit. One more time for the record books, boy. One more time for the record books.
Different. That's it. Equity issues such as race, for example. People get slightly less racist over time. The racists change shape, size, color. Things are just slightly different. That's it. It's just an evolution of patriarchy and sex.
A lot has changed out here in the internet wastelands. We used to use keks and memes, and now we drop hard R bombs. Where we once had to deal with the worldview of the bread tube, we now have to deal with the red spear, sharpened by the tools of men following Andrew Tate. Violence hasn't changed, but racism, memes, sexism, patriarchy never changes. Patriarchy never changes. Racism, it just evolves, it changes, it grows. It becomes capable of talking about how the sussy baka could definitely be a femboy, but then have a honking fucking piece of meat. The absolute twink, taking hard cocks in every hole. Racism hasn't ever changed. Oh, you're fucking dumb.
Appear. There's no wing or loot. It's here, and it's like you have to fight that.
I think we're going to see a downfall of red pill content for sure.
There is not. As somebody who literally is constantly content creating in the red pill, I can tell you right now, it is not a downfall at all. It is just continuing to grow. You can met me all you white. I don't know what to tell you. The metrics are there. You look at like political, for example. Me and my manager have been looking at all of the top political channels in general, and all of the top trending stuff from Hassan, from Destiny, from anything is always red pill content. Political content isn't trending at all. The red pill is catching people by a storm, and the issue is right now we're lucky because they're all so stupid and anti-institutional that they don't vote. So it doesn't really matter as far as like our policies are concerned. The issue is Tate is starting to side up and cozy up with potentially BRICS allies, which might be like an international force that is going to be an issue for America, and he's for sure probably going to be more likely to cozy up with somebody like Trump, right? We also don't know what's going to happen with this trial. What do you think is going to happen to Andrew Tate if for whatever reason he gets away with like a not guilty verdict? Which again, I think that he's guilty, right? I'm not a big fan of Andrew Tate, but I don't know how good the Romanian system is, and I don't know how well it can be bought off with mafia money. I genuinely have no idea. And so what if he walks away from it? That's going to be renewed.
It's going to be really bad.
Yeah. It won't just be really bad. He's going to explode again. And he's leaning into like a lot of conservative Islamic. And have you seen, Kate, the fact that Sneeko came out with an apology in the same week that when Andrew Tate got released, he had this like calm demeanor and just said, I forgive everyone, I'm sorry, it's all okay, I'm not angry, like inshallah, like I read the Quran and worked out, and that's all I did. Like the fact they're changing what they're doing now. Sneeko's apology was a pretty good apology, right? He was like, I apologize, I take accountability. They're shifting what they're doing, which is going to increasingly appeal to an older demographic as well. Like we should not be dismissing these groups at all. We're not treating them as serious. And I genuinely think that these motherfuckers are smart enough to know that voting basis matters, and they're going to start cozying up with politicians, absolutely. And then we have real trouble because we have an entire group of young men who notoriously never vote. Conservative young men never vote because they're usually doing crime or like doing other like anti-social shit.
I don't know how we would do this, Kylo. I don't know how we would do this, Kylo, but I would love to make $100 bet with you right now, and just like in like say like in a year and a half, that red pill content is going to be dead. I don't know how we would.
Not if the Taliban HQ has something to say about it, bro. Not if the Taliban HQ has something to say about it.
Able to do the metrics, but I'm serious.
Look,
Yeah, sure, I'll take $100 bet.
I don't know how we would measure it. I would love to take that. Yeah, take $100. That's
I
fine.
find it an interesting pipeline for like what Erudite's saying, because what she's pretty much saying is like this allows men to kind of like fall into maybe like other demographics of probably what we
It's called cross demographic. They will be able to cross the demographic. That's what she's expressing. She is explaining how to jump demographic lines. It goes from a bunch of losers in the bathroom in the basement that never vote because they're too busy playing video games. And then it becomes, well, I do vote, but the point still stands. And then it goes to men who are politically conscious, who are aware, who are fighting you in your arena with your weapons, with your subversion tools, and are winning because now they have money, they have backing, they have information, they have control, they have the algorithm, They have the narratives. They have the ability to create counter-narratives. They know how to fight narratives. They know how to disrupt, how to distract, and destroy narratives. And they have the ability to do so in a place where you can't control them anymore, because all of the features and all of the control valves that used to exist with a place like Twitter, for example, no longer are stopping them. So if their opinions go viral because people agree with their viewpoints, you don't have a counter to them anymore. That easy counter of, oh, just gonna get them banned on Twitter. Nope, that don't work no more. I'm gonna call him cringe in debate. He deflected. He's called you a soy boy. Everybody's laughing at you. Go to Hassan. Hassan can't win the debate. He actively cannot go to the places where the debate's being had because he doesn't want to get dunked on by Destiny. He wants to stay inside the cubbyhole and just talk about niche issues on his Twitch stream and continue calling people hating $1 million Andys. Trump wins. Shit, fuck, shit. What happens? What happens is you lose, is effectively what's happening. In the worst case scenario.
And I'd say, like, maybe the Proud Boys starts accepting, like, these red pill ideas.
I said Proud Boys! I said Proud Boys! I said Proud Boys! In a political influence conversation! No! No, he's painted! It's worse than the black in the corner!
Absolutely.
I don't want to fearmonger these things, but I'm not going to look up in-game.
Oh, what's the problem with fear-mongering about a group of people who only ever rose to violence when they were being threatened by Antifa? I thought Antifa was a group of peace.
This kind of content has been around longer than I've been alive. Like, I'm 20. Ever since YouTube started, there's been conservative content.
No! You have been alive for 20 years, which means you've been alive for longer than YouTube existed. YouTube came into proliferation at a time period where you was still a child, but it was not older than you. To claim that it's older than you is in the framework of saying what you just said, was that you're claiming it as conservative, when it is not conservative. There is not a single conservative thing about the particular kind of rhetoric and groupthink that went on in the culture war, because it's one side of a culture war fighting another side of the culture war, destroying their fucking bases, destroying their groups, destroying their efficacy, and then saying, we won. And the left won on that in the culture war. They platformed a majority of their rivals to the point where the only reason they are able to stay alive is because there are alternative sources for them to receive funding and crowdsourcing from their audience. And they're able to get funding from people who are willing to give them ad revenue and ad sponsors for direct call to action sales for things like HelloFresh and Factor. In the rhetoric of the culture war, the left won. But now, in the war for hearts and minds, they are losing. Because they don't know how to open their hearts to darkness.
In 2010s, we had like pranks gone wrong, gone sexual, gone violent. And then in 2016, we had the anti-SJW, we had the atheist channels that became very misogynistic. We had debate channels that became very misogynistic. In 2020, now we have red pill. This kind of movement is bringing along, it's bringing in like sexism and patriarchy, and it's taking, it's evolving.
No, it's not. Either it's taking in old sexists and new sexists, which it's not, because these people have supposedly been around forever, by your word. Because it was older than longer than you were alive, which is fucking possible. Or it's that it's mutating and evolving in a rapid pace that you can't control because you're so focused on banning it out of existence that you can't keep an eye on how it's mutating. And so it's mutating in places where you don't go to and you don't pay attention to because you use Twitter. You don't use Instagram. You don't use Truth Social in that way. You don't use the Fediverse in that way, if ever at all. You don't go to these places. You're not on these individual sites. You're not in any of those places at all. Whenever you get angry, you run to Mastodon. You run to alternative sites that allow you to try and control and cavalcade up people off in these networks. You don't understand how this shit develops. And you demonstrate that every time you keep saying, it's been older than me. No, it's not. It is younger than you. And they are beating your ass. You are the monolith. You are a part of the monolith. You are a part of the church on the endemic warpath. You are a part of the marching army of the old one. And you are being taken out by insurgents who believe in Shadow Wizard Money Gang. You are getting beaten the fuck by rebels. And you don't know how to fight the rebels, because with every generation of new rebels joining their cause, they are evolving their strategies. You don't know how to deal with it, because you've never evolved yours.
Over time. It's not as bold as it was.
We'll see.
It's actually bolder now than it really was ever before.
I'm telling you that the red pill is...
It's not as bold now, but it's actually even bolder than it was. It's soft, but wet. But when hard, it curves and bends. Slightly to the left. You kind of have to hold it like this and...
Everything about it's gonna be dead in.
It's literally
No. I'm not talking about conservatism. Erida, you obviously know that, right? You know, I'm talking about
I know you're
yeah,
saying
yeah,
conservatives will be.
yeah.
It's going to be the
Yeah.
gold bill or the new Christmas
Yeah.
bill or the
Let me
revamped.
Okay, so guys,
what would you want?
Oh my God, there's so much noise here. Oh my God. I think it's interesting what my friend Erida is saying, talking about this meteoric rise in popularity, and I can't say anything against her. I think that it seems like we on the left have put such little resistance that we don't even know where to start to demolish this monster, right? I really think
Start with stopping your desire to stop them from speaking. The same way that you muted the panelist, stop trying to destroy them and let them settle a public camp. Let people come and see what's behind the door in your framework. Using my framework. Let them see what's behind the door of the waiting room when they talk about the right wing. Instead of saying, oh my god, I can't believe that they went behind the door. Actually go in the fucking door and see what the fuck they do! Learn from witnessing with your eyes! Use your eyes.
What did you say?
I said we have no off-ramps. We have no off-ramps for these young men. Where else
It's
would
an
they
issue
go?
of where we think we're right, but then we don't combat it because we just think we're right.
Yes, correct. You tried to silence them because you believe that you're right, and any person who argues with you does not know what they're talking about. Then they go underground, and then they mutate. Sonic underground. Then they come back, and now they have Sonic-based nuclear weaponry. And you're like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? Holy shit! They jumped so many cycles of military, advantageous use in the terms of political sense. Yes, that is exactly what you do. What are you going to do about it? Nothing? Continue to argue on a panel about it?
Yeah,
We don't have any arguments because it's we're right. You need to learn.
we are a bunch of hippies.
Yeah,
It seems like we don't have we don't have the terminology. We don't have the
Because you don't know how to adapt the terminology because you're cringe about it.
discourse infrastructure to balance out. Not on all the other fronts. When we're talking about conservative minded individuals, where leftists have talking points, and even if they can't necessarily win the day that day, what the problem is and how to tackle it. But I think, as I really astutely pointed out, that for this section, since we've been just so devoid from the fight, we don't know where to start, which will be a problem soon enough. And this idea of them being politically connected and being politically active, I hadn't heard that angle previously, but it's now very much scaring me. So
It
shouldn't scare you. If it scares you, you've already lost. You're not supposed to be terrified of your political enemy. You're supposed to understand your political enemy. You're supposed to be able to meet on common ground with them and understand where they're coming from as people. Because if it scares you, you're scared of the threat that it supposes to your power, not the threat that it supposes to society as a whole and what will be left behind after the fucking bomb goes off. Because you're equating it to, oh my god, these guys have gotten the nuclear button. Okay, what's your response? Nuclear button! Every time. There's a talking point that you can't defend against. What are you going to do? Nuclear button! There's a viewpoint that you haven't considered before, and a new person who is popular is coming up. What do? Nuclear button! Every time you hit the nuclear button, you end up creating the people who then deplatform you by being better than you. I use the phrase deplatform because the way you see it is that they're not orbiters. They're not orbiting you for attention. You can just block them out from view. That's not how they work. You are directly competing against them and you are losing. You're losing in several factors. You're losing socially. You're losing mimetically. You're losing optically. Because your tactic has been, when we find someone we don't like and we want to destroy their ability to be a bigger threat, we destroy their channel. We destroy their image. We destroy their audience. We destroy their audience, then subsume that audience for ourselves. But all these people we've subsumed, much like the Furian Revolution, or something like the Chronicles of Riddick, all these converts still hold beliefs that allow for this man, this blind bat, to be able to claim a kingdom. And I don't want them to keep what they kill. Why do we stop it? Stop being a bitch. Stop being a bitch. Generally, the better tactic in this case, if it's how do we stop an enemy that we haven't acknowledged and can't fight, is start acknowledging it.
There's something that the left want, like we want to tie. I think what Paul keeps trying to do, like claiming Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bernie Sanders as like a leftist masculine role model. Like,
Bernie's masculine role model.
Okay, fine. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I said he had
Anyway,
more
I
influence.
find this interesting though, because if an educate figure does do this, there has to be a counter answer.
Well, yeah, I wanna ask,
the answer
no
to-
longer be quiet, because if they be quiet and they just let it go, they're being complicit. So they actually have to like stand up and fight this, and now have to.
And there's the reason why you can't fight it. No, there's no such thing as neutral on a moving train. We have to push back. We have to push back. Do you? Or should you just rope-a-dope them and let them burn themselves out? You treat him like he's a threat, so he becomes a threat.
What could a leftist? I want to ask, what could a leftist like a leftist version of Andrew Tate say that's any? It still hasn't been answered. What could they say that's anywhere near as appealing? That's what Andrew Tate is offering young boys. There's no.
The problem is a leftist is trying to answer.
One thing
trying to answer Andrew Tate is trying to use intelligence. Like, not to cut you off, but like I didn't get to finish this thought. We're trying to use like intelligence and like this is what's cool. This is what's masculine. Let's go into science. Let's go into politics. Like that's not appealing. That's not what's going to win.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I do not believe you can reason yourself out of belief. You do not reason yourself into. That's why I think that if you ask people like, oh, well, why does a woman have to work that kind of job? Because it is. Why does a man have to do that? Because that's just the way it is through nature. That's the way these people don't reason themselves into these ideas. These are status quo ideas.
Oh, they're being presented these concepts because you're not showing them anything to the opposite, because every single time people tell you, look, there is no such thing as a wage gap. It's a pay gap. Then the pay gap exists because women are taking smaller pay because they want to raise families. And they see that and then say, okay, so I'm just going to take the top position. I'm going to become the hardest worker I possibly know. And I'm going to grind myself into that role model that they want. And then when they get asked, why do you do that to yourself? Bro, I just have to. Because if I don't do it, I'm not going to be valuable to anyone. That's what's happening. And you don't seem to understand that the counter to that is, bro, you don't have to work yourself to the bone. Define what is success to you and then just do that. And then find somebody who's willing to work in that framework with you. I didn't think about it before. I think I'll try that. Where do you think I should start? Where are you right now? Start there. All you gotta do! All you gotta do!
That have demagogues pushing them. That's not fun. That's not a Bugatti. That's not a Bugatti. That's not fun. I'm not trying to shit on you, but that's just the reality.
Think about gladiators. Think about gladiators. Okay, young boys think Spartans and gladiators and all those sort of motherfuckers are cool as shit. They are dope, and young boys think so too. They're like superheroes. And so, like, I don't know. The answer is the left needs to figure this out. The right figured out a caricature that they create of like hypermasculinity that appeals to young boys. I'm not convinced that the left can't have something. I'd be super interested in some form of like masculine stoicism that reminds me of like Jocko Willink type thing. There's this like badass motherfucker who's also like very careful and looks after people and like all these things, like is super bad and could break your spine over his knee, but also like stands up for like what he believes to be good, and good in this case would probably be someone captured by like leftist values. I think that has a possibility of appeal.
Man too. I think that was also their hypocrite. They were principled. They were driven. You know, if there was a thing they really thought about, they would go and they would pick it and they would stand there. They would tie themselves, chain themselves to trees to save the forest.
I think
because of it.
The 70s is like a timeline, a good point for us to say like that's
they were community oriented, and those are masculine traits. That even though they were soft hippies with flower names, they actually stood up for what they believed in. They were masculine as fuck. Right, so we need to have qualities. I think nowadays, normally for 2020s, what do leftist men look like? What do they sound like? What do they do? What are the qualities of masculinity for a leftist man? So we need to figure out.
The 70s is a good point. I feel like
You guys wrap back the fuck around. Oh my god.
where we can start to say like
There's only 40 seconds left. It still feels like it's another hour.
that's where we start to question what is masculinity, what is femininity. That's where the split starts happening.
They knew what they were.
No, we're interpreting that now from looking back, but I'm saying like that's when the actual questions were coming up, like in real time. Like in real time, right now, we're saying like what's a man? Maybe 20 years down, we look back at 2020 and say this is what a liberal man was, this is what a leftist man was.
Yeah,
Like, that's
okay,
we're
but I'm
looking at
also
that from a
16,
different perspective.
I don't know about
Gotta
the
go, guys.
70s, but
Good night, everybody. Hey, DGGL.
Nobody knew.
Lord, have mercy. Now that we've finally gotten through it, let's jump to the fucking green room, if there's anybody left. I will be here for 5 minutes. Should not take long for people to flood in to be able to give their opinion, if they want to give their opinion. Lord, have mercy. That felt like it was forever. They always feel like they're forever. Give y'all time to collect. Alright. We got ourselves a notepad here today. got ourselves a notepad here today. So the general question that I have for anybody who jumps into the chat is, after hearing from a group of leftists plus erudite, and having this notepad of their viewpoints, I would ask you, what do you think the left needs to do to convince you that you will even listen to them, let alone join them on partisan or non-partisan issues? Harvey, go. Take your time. Or not, that's also an option. Harvey, are you with us, my child?
Yes, by all means.
There they are. What is your opinion? What would the left have to do for you to either, one, take them serious, or two, join them on their partisan or non-partisan issues? Do you have an answer, young Harvey? They might be camera shy. I don't know. Looking at the chat at the same time. Well, Harvey comes with an answer. From Cold Mormec. I don't think they like where racism changed to. A lot of how they've grown has been judo throw tactics built on your incompetence. This showing embodies the left, a hive mind of shrieking harpies that responds with screams and curses, each one more utterly worthless than the last. As aggressive as they are incompetent. They want to fight but can't actually fight IRL. These people are not used to being told no being said to them, are they? Be less like zealots about what they believe in. I love you, Carl, but I don't think I'll have a catch a different stream. This was basically a catch-up stream to be able to get to where we were before. But I feel like because it's later in the day, same issue that happened with the first stream. That's the problem with these debate panel videos. There's so much shit to discuss and so many things to go, but there's not always time for people to want to talk about them. And I don't blame people for not wanting to talk about them, because who wants to talk about these issues endlessly? That feels like shit. Shit. But no. Answering my own question, what would a leftist have to do in order for me to care about what they want to talk about? One, when they're told no, take the answer no, and then fuck off and leave me the fuck alone. So, if they come to me and say, do you think that we should censor women in video games? No. I don't. Ah, I see, he's typing it. Harvey typed his answer. Stop treating men like workhorses that they can abuse and just have to eat and smile. Yes, I agree. If somebody comes to me and says to me, Carl, what do you think we should do about video game construction? What do you think we should do when we develop new concepts in video game stories? How do you think we should develop characters in stories? Do you think that we should continue making white males, or should we abandon white males and make all new, all different, all white female protagonists, so that all we have is a history book of DIE standard women that we use as the main protagonists of our stories now? I would say, bro, if the story works with a male protagonist, it works with a male protagonist. If it works with a female protagonist, it works with a female protagonist. I don't think I should follow the viewpoint of somebody like fucking Neil Druckmann, because he has an inherent hatred of the way that video games were made in the past, so he believes he needs to overcorrect for the future. Because his overcorrection is leading to me having games that are boring as fuck, that I don't want to fucking read, that I don't want to write, that I don't want to listen to, and that I don't want to hear from. So, it's killing me on the inside that you're so fucking dumb that you think that's something that needs to be done, that I don't want to discuss it with you further until you're able to understand what I value in characters. Because the fact you would ask me that question makes me believe that you have a fundamental system that is not on the same value structure as my own, and rather than tell you, that you should fuck off and never work in video games, I'm going to instead say, no, I don't enjoy that. And I'm going to play games that I enjoy, that I find fun, that I find worth my money, my time, my investment, and my value. And if I so happen to look at these games that they make and I can derive from them, these characters are horrible, but the story that they're telling is kind of fine. Like that in the case of The Last of Us Part 1, I should be able to do that. And when I see the dog shit that is revenge badge in The Last of Us Part 2, I can say, bro, this is goddamn garbage. And why are you having a butt sex scene here? We can't have titties, we can't have skirts, we can't have fan service in games, but you expect me to accept that I should have to watch your butt fuck scene pantomime for fucking 10 minutes at a time? I can't have sexy clothing, but I can decapitate a female and shoot their head off with a shotgun? Huh? Huh? It would be from there. I'd rather play Half-Life again than Last of Us Part 2. Based. And it is like that. And on Harvey's point, if men tell you, bro, I have value, you cannot just treat me like a piece of society that runs your eternal engine, and that I never get asked, how do I feel? If they then say, well, bro, somebody's gonna run society, it's like, okay, you run it then. I'm not gonna do it anymore. And he leaves his tools on the floor and he walks the fuck away, then you just have to accept that. Not be like, no, no, slave, get back here, run society so I can rant about how politics are bad on Twitch. Get back here! Simple as. Simple as, bro. You don't want men to unplug themselves? Treat them like human beings. Anybody else? Anybody else want to chime in? I talk about it endlessly, but I'm at work at the moment. You don't have to jump into the chat to say it. You could just be able to leave your opinion in the chat room. Give another minute for somebody to give a response. I see Harvey typing. I will wait. I'll turn on the theme music. You must be typing a paragraph. Maybe drop socialism like the hot potato that it is. That was a long time to type that sentence. There's various amounts of nuggets of knowledge there. Socialism and communism, by extension as well, are things that are being used as the same kind of thing as Islam is for individuals like Andrew Tate and Wahhabism in the West. So, to watch and see people keep using socialist frameworks and socialist figures as a value nexus for society is cringe. Especially if they bring up irrelevant figures like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders does not have influence in this social structure. Technically, even Hassan Piker doesn't have influence the social structure in the sense that he matters to get people to vote. He will never do something like canvassing. What he will matter at doing is saying something so massively brain dead that it leads to figures who are smaller than him but have more social influence in doing something that matters, like going somewhere and actually doing the work that he won't do as he sits in his fucking mansion, grifting off of their fucking work by stealing it and using it on his broadcast, with people like Dylan Burns, or reading the books and making structures to the point, like that for Dev. And I wouldn't even say Dev's on the left. I would say he's a liberal that's left-leaning, who understands the value and is able to look at the left and the right and decide what is worth keeping and what is worth tossing the fuck out. Those figures are going to be the kind of people who will say something stupid that allow for somebody who's either on the side they're on to make fun of them and demonstrate how they're not fit to be a leader, or people who are opposite of them on the political aisle to use them as a demonstration to show, see, look, they're incompetent. They don't even know how to assess the world they're around. Bernie Sanders very much is Larry David's mentally challenged cousin. In regards to the point on the bottom of the notepad, attaching a bad image to a good neutral concept does not negate the value of the base concept. Did you know that Hitler drank water? Indeed I did. Did you know he also pissed and shat? You better not expel your fecal matter. You better not expel it. Otherwise you're just like the Nazis. You better keep that shit inside. I don't care if you get a UTI infection. I don't care if your fucking bladder explodes. I don't care if your colon starts to prolapse in on itself as it's filled with all your old shit. You keep that shit the fuck in until it doesn't come out as poop, but instead as rainbow sprinkle water, just like women's poop. Evil! 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 Drink, breathe air, evil! Suffocate to death, so you're not like a Nazi. It is brain dead to me, and should be to everybody else, that people continue doing this thing where they do that. Where, oh, are you like them? Because they believe in X. Yeah, and I'm also not dumb, and I understand how to use X. It's like misusing a tool. It's like, listen, this man, he used guns to kill people. What, you think guns are good? Yes, guns helped me protect my family when this man tried to murder me. Why the fuck would I get rid of my gun just because a lunatic misused a tool? Why would I do that? Why would you expect me to do that? Why would you expect me to give you power over me by depowering myself with my firearm because evil people did things? But assault rifles, but assault rifles, that's just a word that means nothing. There are more crimes that happen with knives and handguns in their own category and combined than would ever happen with a physical rifle, with a magazine-loaded cartridge. Anything else? Did I miss anyone else? We dropped frames for like a hot second. Not sure what happened there. I'm not sure what happened there. We dropped frames for like half a second and then reconnected. But anyways, that is the end of that video. I have videos of my own that I need to work on and put out, including feet lasagna. And then we return to the games. Me joining the Discord crashed it. Possibly. Unfortunate timing indeed. But I don't have anything else to present for right now because I think we're gonna save the next video for the next stream entirely, and that one will be a ride along for the chat. Because I got shit to work on and do. I have a lot of cleaning I'm behind in my kitchen that I need to do. So, we will be signing off today, ladies and gentlemen. I have been SinglePlayerCarl. This has been my chat room in text form. And if you would like to support streams to make sure that a homie can continue to make content like this, please consider supporting the channel on Twitch.tv, Ko-fi.com, and Subscribestar.com. And consider becoming a donator and pledger on Subscribestar. Because the United Negroid Cringe founders bring this kind of content and negrosity to you. Because the niggatry is indeed down with the caucasity. And a Carl is a terrible thing to waste. I will see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. 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 I don't know if there will be a versus chat tomorrow, but I will be streaming tomorrow. Goodbye.